attach yourself and make the work for the angel of death difficult. When you have a lot of attachments to this world, the angel of death, when he comes to take you, to take out your soul, he has to do a lot of hard work to cut all your ties which you have made with this world. So work itself is not bad, but to make a lot of ties with this world, that is discouraging. Someone asked Jesus, Ya Ruhullah, O Spirit of God, with whom should we make friendship? With whom should we sit? With whom should we will have friendship? Jesus mentioned 3 conditions for the people with whom you have to be friend. Number 1, he says, be friend with those people. When you see him, when you sit with him, he reminds you of God. Anyone who reminds you of God, sit with him, make friendship with him. Number 2, make friendship with the person whose talking increase your knowledge. When he speaks with you, you gain something. Your knowledge is increased. And number 3, make friendship with the person who encourages you towards hereafter. Whoever encourages you, his meeting, his talking, sitting with him towards the hereafter, he is the best person with whom a person should be a friend. Coming to the charity. Now this tradition is very famous among the Muslims. And the Muslims, I heard many scholars quoting this tradition about the importance of charity. Once, Jesus was passing by a village and he saw the people of the village are happy, singing, dancing. He asked, what's going on here? They told him, oh Spirit of God, there is a wedding going on. We are happy because 2 people are, there is wedding for 2 people. So the whole village is happy and they are rejoicing, enjoying the wedding. Jesus said, yes, I can see. Today you are happy, but tomorrow these people will cry. Someone asked, what do you mean? He says, the knowledge which I have, the divine knowledge which I have from Archangel Gabriel or from God directly, according to my divine knowledge, this wedding is going to turn into a crying, turn into sadness. He said this and he left. Next, he was coming back on the same way. He saw that the people were still happy and they were rejoicing, they were singing, dancing, and nothing happened. And there are some people who were hypocrites. They came to him and said, see, Jesus, you see, you told us that this is going to change into crying and sadness, but nothing happened, everything is same. Jesus says, yes, this is something which is strange. Let's find out what is the reason. According to my knowledge, this wedding was to be changed into a crime. So he went forward and he said, where is the bride and where is the groom? They were brought to them. They were brought near Jesus. Jesus asked the bride, last night was supposed to be the last night of your life. You are going to die. You might have done something which has saved your life. The bride says, I don't remember anything special. Jesus said, no, you did something. Remember what you did. She said, I remember last night was the night of my marriage and someone came on the door, a beggar came on the door, he knocked on the door and said, give me something. And that was the time, because my parents told me, always feed poor, orphan, take care of the poor people, needy people. So I gave him something in charity. The beggar took the charity and he prayed for me, for my long life. And he went away. Jesus says, search the bed of the bride. And when they searched the bed, they found a black snake. The black snake was killed or died by itself under the bed of the bride. And Jesus said, this snake came here to bite you and to kill you. But your life was saved because of the charity which you performed towards the beggar, towards the poor and needy. So what we learn from this story, and which is told to us by many of the scholars, the Muslim scholars, is that charity is very important. It increases the life. It can change the destiny. Some people say, I brought my destiny when I was born. I brought my destiny from Almighty God. So I can't do anything. It's not in my hand. My hands are closed. But this is not according to the Islamic teachings. According to Islam, and according to what we heard from the story of Jesus, you can change your destiny by doing good deeds. If I can't change my destiny, then I don't need to come to the church. I don't need to come and ask prayers. Why? Because whatever is written for me, that's it. And in our traditions, according to the Islamic traditions, as-sadaqa tadfa'u sab'ina bala'an. Charity removes 70 problems. Charity can remove up till 70 problems. With charity you can increase your life. With charity you can increase your sustenance. In charity you can have a place, you can earn a place for yourself in paradise. So this shows the ethical teachings of Jesus is the importance of charity and how to spend in the name of God and how to feed the poor, the orphan. Again, we see that some of his disciples, they asked, Ya Mu'allim al-Khair, O teacher of good, Arshidna, give us some advice. Jesus said, I advise you the advice of my brother Moses, the prophet before me. Moses told his people, don't swear on the name of God while you are wrong. That is, don't swear on God falsely. Jesus says, I advise you, don't even swear by the name of God falsely and truly. Exactly this is what we have in Islam. Sometimes for a small things we swear, by God, I did this, I will do this. God, the Almighty, His position is very high. We should not bring His name for small things, for businesses, for this. So when the disciple says, advise us, Jesus says, my advice is the same advice, with the difference that Moses said, don't swear by the name of God falsely. I say, don't swear by the name of God falsely and truly. And he continued, advised his people not to do adultery. I say, Jesus says, I say, don't do adultery, plus don't even think of adultery. Don't even talk about it. And then he gives an example. He says, if you are in a room, and in this room you have decorations, you have pictures, you have other things of decoration. If smokes enter into the room, the smoke might not burn the room, but it will spoil the decorations. Similarly, thinking of adultery or talking about adultery, not committing it, thinking and talking about adultery spoils a person as the smoke spoils the decoration of the room. We also see that once Jesus said to his disciples, he said, I cured the blind, I cured the ill, I cured the lepers, I revive people with the permission of God. But there is one kind of person whom I have no cure for him. I can't do anything for him. The disciple asked, who is that? Jesus said, a fool. I have no cure for a fool. The disciple asked, who is a fool? In Arabic, the word fool for fool is ahmak. وَمَا هُوَ الْأَحْمَقُ? Who is the fool? Jesus says, a fool is a person who admires himself. A fool is a person who thinks he is right and all others are wrong. A fool is a person who does not accept advice. A fool is a person who is arrogant. I have cure for everything except for such person who is a fool. Once Jesus was passing by a village, he saw a man was fighting with another woman. So Jesus stopped there and asked, what's the matter? The man said, I am husband and this is my wife. She's a good lady, but I want to leave her. I want to separate from her. Jesus says, if she's a good lady, she's your wife, why you want to be separated from her? Why you want to go away from her? The man says, because the reason, there is only one reason, which is not that big reason, but for me it is a big reason. Although she's a good lady, and I have nothing seen wrong in her, still I don't want to live with her. What's the reason? The man says, her face looks aged. She looks more aged from his face, while her age is not that much. She is young. Her age is not, that much, but she looks more aged from her face than what her age is. And that's why I want to separate from her. Jesus turned towards the wife and says, I have a cure for it. If you follow it, you will look fresh. Your face will look fresh. She says, what's that? Jesus says, whenever you eat food, don't eat food to your fill. Don't keep on eating unless you eat to your fill. Don't fill your belly too much. Just leave a small empty space in your belly. Because when you eat to your fill, this food comes towards your chest. And it destroys the freshness of your face. And it says that the woman acted on the advice of Jesus, and she got back the freshness of her face. There are a lot of things to learn from his life, to learn from what he has practically, he practiced those things himself, and he taught us. I will try to finish it in a few minutes, although if I keep on talking about the ethical teachings, it will continue and there is no end to it. Once, Jesus, when he passed by a village, he saw that the village is upside down. I'm trying to finish it in a few minutes. And then we will have some time for question answers. He was passing by a village. He saw the villages upside down. A disaster has taken the people of the village and they were destroyed. Jesus was with his disciples. Most of the time he used to travel with his companions, with his disciples. So he stopped by the village and he told the people that it looks that these people are destroyed by the wrath of God, by the punishment from God. And they were punished by God at once, at one place, at one time. If it wasn't the wrath of the God, then they would have buried each other. But we see none of them are buried, so it means that they died at once, and all of them died at the same time. This is the wrath of the God. Otherwise, when a person dies first, another person comes and he buries him. But we see that they are all destroyed. The disciple says, one of the disciples, why don't you make a person alive and ask him what happened to them? With the permission of God, Jesus gave life to one of them and asked him, what is your story? He says, yes, we were destroyed and we were overtaken. We slept in the night. And then in the morning, we were taken by the wrath of the God, by the punishment of the God. All of us our animals were destroyed. All of us were destroyed and were killed. Jesus says, why? What is the reason? He says, for the following reasons. Number one, we were idol worshippers. We used to worship idols. Jesus asked him, how was your worship for the idols? He says, we used to love idols as a baby loves his mother. A baby loves his mother. He listens to his mother. Whatever the mother says, the child follows. We used to follow and listen and love the idols as a baby loves his or her mother. Number two, we were negligent of our duties towards God and our duties towards human beings. We never took care of our duties towards the God and towards the fellow human beings. The third reason was we had long desires and wishes without actions. Long desires. I will do this, I must have that, this, so many. The list of our desires and wishes were very lengthy, but we did nothing for that. It was only just a wish. Number four, we forget about the hereafter. We never thought about the hereafter. And these are the reasons for our destruction and the punishment which we got from God. Lastly, although as I mentioned that the list is very lengthy, but I will finish with this. Jesus was going from a place with one of his companions, and in between his way a river comes. So Jesus just recited something and started walking on the water. This is one of his miracles because God has given him many miracles. One of his miracles was to walk on the water. This is what we have in our traditions about him. Although we find this about others also, that they used to walk on the water. For Imam Ali alayhi salam also we have these traditions. But I'm not discussing from that angle. Now I'm discussing it from what we have in our sources about Jesus. A man who was with him, he followed him. And he also started walking on water. When Jesus reached to the end of the shore, so he came out of the water. The man, he was still near the shore, on the water. And all of a sudden, he fell down and started crying for help, saying, Jesus, save me, I'm sinking. Jesus helped him with his hand and took him out. Jesus asked him, what happened to you? You were doing good. You were walking on the water. What happened that you fell near the shore? The man says that I fell down because of jealousy, because I became envy of you. How? He says, I thought, what is the difference between me and Jesus? He can walk on the water, I can also walk on the water. So me and him is same. There is no difference. When this thought came into my mind, God punished me and he taught me a lesson. That no, if you are walking on the water, it doesn't mean that you are same as Jesus. Jealousy, to become envy, this is which is not allowed in Islam and in other religions. He had the power while recite something and walk on the water, but when jealousy comes, he fell down. To end with, again, once Jesus was going with his friends, and when he reached a sea, he had a loaf of bread with him. A simple life. The people also had their own food. Jesus had his loaf of bread. He took out his bread and he threw it in the water. The companion says, why you did that? This was your food. What you will eat now? He says, yes, this was my food. But I give it as a charity to the animals who live under the water, the animals of the water. We take care of human beings, we take care of our animal who lives with us. A person has a dog in his house, he takes care of the food for his dog, the drink for his dog. But we never think about the animal which is also created by Almighty God, who lives under the water. Fish is one of them. There are many other animals who live under the water. So we should also think about giving some charity to those animals. And then Jesus says to give charity to the animals of the water, or to give charity to the one whom the people don't care, has a very high reward. So this charity of mine for the animals of the water, for this I will have a very high reward. With this, I pray to God the Almighty that He gives us strength to follow the teachings of Jesus. I also pray to God that He send the Messiah as soon as possible with the 12th Imam, the 12th leader of the Muslims, whom together they will establish justice in the world. I pray to God the Almighty to send him as soon as possible. And I pray to God for all of you who came here to attend this program. Those who are ill, I pray to God the Almighty to give you cure and treatment. And all those who have desires, legitimate desires, to fulfill their desires. I'm thankful to all of you, and especially to Reverend Lady Atkin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's God's peace be upon all of you. Thank you very much.